I'm sure you've heard the word abundance because it's a frequently used word in Unity. We all want abundance, don't we? Everybody wants abundance. But most people, when you say the word abundance, what comes to mind? Money. But abundance is more than money. In fact, abundance is a whole lifestyle. And guess what? It's available to all of us. Now, in case you're scratching your head at this point and wondering, what's he mean about it's available to all of us? I don't have abundance in my life. Well, let's examine the word because it gives us a clue as to what we're talking about. The A in the word abundance means always go to God first. Always go to God first. No matter what's going on in your life, be it a health condition, be it running out of money, be it you just don't know what to do about something. You're scratching your head about this. Go to God first. Always, without exception, go to God first. Take a little time, if only a few minutes, to go in the bathroom by yourself and get quiet and get still and let go of everything around you and go to God and ask. And then shut your mind down and listen for God's guidance. So abundance begins, as does everything else in our lives, with God. The B in the word abundance, well, I have to tell you a little story about this one. There was a minister in New York City some years ago called Reverend Ike, and he was quite an icon for prosperity teaching. And he demonstrated the kind of thing that he taught. He drove a few Rolls Royces and had all kinds of elegant clothing, and he was somewhat of an icon about how to be prosperous using spiritual means. And those of us that were ministerial students at the time wanted to find out what it was that Reverend Ike was doing that made people follow him with such an interest in his prosperity teachings. And I collected several of his, in those days, audio cassette tapes, one of which was called Get Your Butt Out of the Way. Because everything that happens to us in life, we're too inclined to put a but in there. Well, yes, I understand that, but what if so-and-so happens? And we put all these barriers in between us and our good because of that word but. Now, one of the habits I've been working on for some time myself, and I'm still trying to basically overcome the habit of using the word but and substitute the word and instead. In other words, if someone tells you something and you don't quite agree with what they said, instead of saying, well, I hear what you're saying, but, what if you said, I hear what you're saying, and what's also true is blah, 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 whatever. Now, you haven't put up a fence between you and the other person. What you've said is, I will agree with what you said, or I will at least acknowledge what you said, if you will acknowledge what I'm saying at this point. So we begin to move toward agreement as opposed to putting up a fence or a wall between ourselves and the other person. The U in the word abundance is unlimited good. Unlimited. Don't you like that word? Unlimited. Because God has no limits. The only limits we have on our good are the limits we ourselves establish. Other than that, we are all privy to unlimited good in every area of our life. Unlimited health, unlimited wealth, unlimited wisdom, unlimited love. Yes, all of these are ours to the extent that we will accept them and use them. The N in this word abundance stands for nullify any bad feelings that you may have about something or other. Oh, sure, I know. All of us have situations where we sort of feel like, well, gee, that's not going too well. Or somebody asks us how we feel today, and we say, well, okay, and it's kind of a qualified, I guess it's all right, I'm still breathing, but it's not really the enthusiasm. It's not really the energy, it's not really the expression of God that we need to be. So nullify those bad feelings and accept more of those good feelings that can come to you. But in order to experience those good feelings, we have to first get the bad ones out of the way. You know, unity began with this business of nullifying. They didn't call it that, but they called it affirmations and denials. I don't know if you know this story or not, but if you've been around unity for a while, you probably do. It got started when Charles and Myrtle Fillmore were given a diagnosis by a physician at the time that Myrtle had what was the cancer of that day. It was called tuberculosis, and she was given a fatal diagnosis, meaning she only had a certain amount of time to live. But she went to a metaphysical lecture one night in Kansas City, and what she heard the man say was, we can affirm the truth we want to see in our lives and deny the appearances that look to be other than the truth. Affirmations, denials. Those were the building blocks, the foundation blocks, if you will, on which unity was built. Because Myrtle got her healing all right and lived for many years thereafter. And Charles, a real estate broker at the time, was quite impressed with his wife, total healing, and said, we need to teach this to other people, and thus began the unity movement. So nullify anything that doesn't get you where you want to go. Deny it. Deny it. And the D in our abundance idea is be delightful. Dream your dream. Nothing is too good for you. Oh, I know. When you were little and growing up, you probably started out on a fairly negative note. You know why? Because the first 3 words we learn as little kids, we're first learning words. The first 3 words we learn after Mama, Daddy, and McDonald's are quit, stop, and no. Well, it's no wonder that we start out with a pretty negative attitude. But what if we started dancing our way through life? What if we started really enjoying every single day? Not just to say something nice to another person, but really feeling it from the core of our being. Yes, this is a dance, and I'm enjoying every minute of it. I went back and looked at a DVD of a movie from some years ago recently called Chicago. Maybe you've seen it. It's a wonderful musical, won a lot of Academy Awards. And there's this one scene where Renee Zellweger's character is on stage and she's talking to the people who have assembled to watch her act. And she said, you know, when I was wanting to get into show business, all I heard were no's. No, no. But now, due to her fame and notoriety in this particular thing, she said, I got me a world full of yes. And she started dancing with that concept. So we too can start dancing with the idea of a world full of yes, if we choose to. The A, well, we talked about the denials of things we don't want in our life. So how about making the A stand for affirmations, affirming what we do want, thinking about them, not just writing them down on a tablet and reading them off every day, and that's good, there's nothing wrong with that, but writing them down on the tablet of our minds and continually repeating themselves over and over to us in our mind, affirming what we want to be true, even if we see no evidence in an outer way presently that that is true. Because what happens is, well, a perfect illustration of this was in a book I read some years ago by Dr. Jerry Jampolsky, a psychiatrist from California who was quite a follower of a course you may have heard of called the Course in Miracles. And he was one of the first students of this Course in Miracles, and he wrote a book called Love is Letting Go of Fear. And in that book, which was filled with cartoons, there was one in particular that stuck in my mind this very day. The cartoon has a young fellow sitting in a movie theater and projecting a movie right up on the screen but the projector is in his head that's showing the picture on the screen. And the accompanying text that goes with this picture says, what if you were in a movie, sitting watching a movie in a movie theater, and you didn't like the movie that was on the screen? Would you run up to the screen and start tearing big strips off the screen? Of course not. The only way to change the picture that was up there would be to change the film that's in the projector. And that pretty well summarizes what unity is all about. The film we put in our mental projector, not just in our thoughts, but in our feelings as well. Our thoughts and feelings is what projects outward and becomes our reality. So we want to affirm those things we want to see in our life and deny those things that we don't want to see more of. Okay? So we had it so far. We have the A, always go to God first. B, get those buts out of your way. You realize we have unlimited good in our lives. N is nullify anything you don't want to see in your life. Dance your way through the process and affirm the good that you do want to see in your life. The next N that comes up for us would be never. And I know that's a word that we probably shouldn't use. I've always said this. We don't want to use the word always and never because we have no control over what's never going to be there. But it's a good start anyway to say never allow the opinions of others to control your life. It doesn't matter what other people say. It doesn't matter what their opinions are. Because the reality is each one of us are given that wonderful, wonderful gift from God called free will. We are free to choose the kind of lifestyle we want. We are free to choose the thoughts we hold in our mind. We're free to choose the feelings that go along with those thoughts and project themselves out and become the life that we're experiencing. And if we don't like the life we're experiencing, all we have to do is change the film in the projector and start projecting a different sort of life. Okay? The C in this abundance, the final C in abundance, has to do with collectively bringing your life into a new dimension. Now, what I mean by that? Collectively bringing your life into a new dimension means once you've taken control of your mind and your feelings, and you are aware that whatever you perceive in the outer is not something that you are taking a picture of, but rather a picture that you're projecting out there, then we have control. Oh, I don't mean everything's going to happen just the way you wish it would. I don't mean everything's going to happen the way you think it will. But what I do mean is we have control over the thoughts and feelings we're projecting, not of circumstances, but of our response to those circumstances. You see, we can't control what comes up in our life. Stuff happens. We used to have a bumper sticker like that in Florida, or something started with an S anyway. Stuff happens. And when it does happen, your choice is how you respond to what happens. Someone once said, no matter what happens, there's always someone who knew it would. And they're probably right. But you don't have to be a victim of circumstance. You can choose the circumstances you want. Last but not least, the E stands for easy. It's easy to make some small choices every day that can lead you down a path you don't want to go. And it's just as easy to make some small choices every day that lead you down the path you do want to go. The choice is always yours. But what if? I told you to get rid of that, didn't I? Earlier on. Get rid of those buts and start practicing making choices about the life you really want. Life doesn't have to be hard. Life can be easy, providing you will follow these simple steps. And the most important of all these simple steps is my favorite affirmation. You might want to remember this if you don't remember anything else I've said. Let go and let God. Let go